We're here with Dr. Amitabh Chak from Case Western Reserve. We're talking about some very exciting new research that's been published in the Journal of American Medical Association Oncology. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Chak. Appreciate you being with us.
Mindy, my pleasure.
Can you, in a nutshell, kind of say why this particular finding is significant in this whole path to try to unravel that familial connection?
Because it's the first gene that we've identified in a family. And when you identify a gene, it gives you a strong clue to what causes Barrett's. Up till now, we just did not have anything special about Barrett's esophagus. And we finally found something that's damaged in the esophagus that triggers the development of Barrett's. So now we can concentrate on studying the function of this gene and figure out what this gene now does. It's finally a little crack that hopefully we can exploit. As you know, esophageal cancer is one of the cancers where we really have made very little impact. And part of the reason for that is we don't understand this cancer. It's very different from other cancers, doesn't respond to the treatments we use for other cancers. We really don't understand how it develops. And one of the more powerful ways to try to understand cancers is to try to understand the genetics behind it. This particular avenue of investigation and in other cancers, colon cancer, we studied families. Those rare families led to the identification of certain genes. Those genes then led us to understand how certain pathways affect cancers, and they've now started resulting in treatments that target those pathways. Now, with breast cancer, people know about BRCA1 and BRCA2, which have led to ways of identifying families, identifying high-risk individuals. And as that research has progressed, by looking at families, they've started to identify treatments for breast cancer. For esophageal cancer, much of that research just hasn't been done.
Is this something that can be expanded? Can you use the information that you found here to detect whether members in other families are susceptible?
This gene has just given us a clue for this family. We have to do further research to identify the partners to this gene. We have to find out other mutations in this gene, whether they're present in other families and whether those mutations predispose to Barrett's. Not all mutations will. We have to find mutations in other genes that are connected and decipher the entire pathway. Only then will we be able to develop genetic tests to help tell who's susceptible, who's not in those families.
How long does it take for you to do the kind of research that you're going to need to do before it's going to be helpful to other families in detecting this?
The mutation that we identified in this, I was looking back at our notes, we probably identified that mutation about 5 years ago. It took us 5 years to prove that that mutation causes Barrett's in this family. Having said that, now that we've got one clue, the pace actually accelerates. The advances in genomic technology have accelerated. With funding, enough research support, we'll be able to sequence the DNA from families that we have accrued DNA from. If we get the support, we'll be able to sequence this gene in other families, maybe identify other mutations. We'll be able to study this gene in the next few years and identify its partners. So pace will get faster and faster once we've got one handle.
Are we talking another 5 years, another 10 years? What would you guess before we're going to be able to have a test that might help somebody, like the BRCA test?
A genetic blood test, probably another 5 years.
So 5 years, we could have a genetic blood test.
5 years, another genetic blood test if this holds up.
So where do we go from here with regard to the research that you're doing? Do you need more families, or do you need to dig in with the information you have from this particular family?
Both. there's never a dearth of directions to pursue. We need to collect more families. The more we collect, the better we understand the genetics. And you never know where the next family is going to be that's going to provide us the next gene that adds another clue. And we need to pursue the gene that we've identified in this family. And unfortunately, as you know, Mindy, that all requires money. It requires the funding agencies to support our research.
And it's difficult for esophageal cancer in particular, just because we are relatively small in number, although when you look at it's a sad measure, but that dollars per death that our government invests in research, esophageal cancer gets a very small number. And that's one of the things that we work really hard on in terms of our advocacy efforts. So you would encourage families, if they have multiple members affected by Barrett's or adenocarcinoma, would they get in touch with you?
Yeah, get in touch with me. We're also on clinicaltrials.gov. We're happy to hear from them at any time.
And would you expect then going forward that you're going to find not just this particular gene mutation, but you're going to find a wide variety of them in different families?
From understanding what we're finding about genetics of what we call complex diseases, there's probably a large number of genes, and we're going to find more mutations in this gene. We'll find more other genes that are connected and more mutations in those other genes.
Dr. Amitabh Chak from Case Western Reserve, thank you. I appreciate you spending the time with us.
My pleasure.